Bob will have to rejoin. For some reason, it wasn't recording, so Bob will have to rejoin.
Okay. We'll wait for Bob. I think since he was here and had to leave because of us.
Yeah, for some reason it kicked him.
Yeah.
Are we now recording?
We are now.
Yeah, now we're recording.
Okay.
We'll wait for Bob to come back on.
Fine.
I'll send him an email.
Hello, Regina and Mike. Well, Greg, I guess we could go ahead and start. There's nothing up there that I think he's going to be writing about.
And I'll post it tomorrow morning up on the website. So.
Okay, well, let's get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Rock Hill Township Board of Supervisors meeting for September 16th, 2020. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the meeting is started. Are there any public comments on the agenda items?
Well, let me see. No, someone else asked to register. I'm going to send them an email too. That's it.
Yeah, Cliff is now in. Okay. All right. We'll move on to announcements. We held an executive session for legal on August 19th, 2020. We will be holding an executive special tonight also for legal matters. I also wanted to announce that the voting location for the township building was moved. The Board of Elections moved it to the Jerusalem Lutheran Church on Ridge Road across from Fasagio's. So that will be your polling place. Actually, it's probably going to be a lot better for people. There's one way in, one way out. You can have one-way traffic. There's plenty of room. The actual room is the dining area, which is much bigger than the township. So I'm kind of happy to see it. So plus there's a lot of parking. So that was done. That's official. They did that last week. The consent agenda. On the consent agenda are the August 19th meeting minutes, the wind plan review status, escrow release and vouchers, emergency services report, building, zoning, and building permit report, public works report, the conservation committee report, planning commission report, the treasurer's report, and payment of bills. Greg, would you please read the fund balances?
Sure. The general fund, $1,035,502.71. Highway aid, $223,006.44. Open space, $1,127,973.18. The park fund, $23,198.41. The equipment fund, $18,358.17. Highway capital, $129.30. Street light, $36,415.87. The reserve funds, general fund reserve, $371,520.54. Open space Manderfield, $51,178.04. The sewage maintenance fund, $180,541.92. Stormwater, $7,552.17. And the escrow funds, $603,738.32.
Okay. Jay or David, do you have any questions about anything on the consent agenda?
I have two.
Jay has. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Jay. Number one, when is the new truck going to be delivered? When is it expected? I was looking at the equipment expense report and just looking at the expenses for August.
It was supposed to be started to be worked on September 7th. I have not gotten word, but that's when it was supposed to start. I'm not sure because of COVID if it did start. The problem is whenever they have these trucks, they have to get enough trucks with this color yellow to make it go through the line. So if they have enough trucks trucks, it would have started on September 7th. I can look into it.
Thank you. And the second question I have is, Mr. Lippincott, would you care to make a comment about the building permits? It seems like we've got quite a few recently.
Yeah, it's been a very busy year. We've been very active. People have been doing additions, decks, swimming pools. It has been a very active year. There's a lot of resale use and occupancies too.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else, David?
No, Mr. Kaiser?
Okay, Jay?
I have no questions. I'm fine with the way it's presented.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, David Collingwood.
And a second?
I'll second it, Jay Kaiser.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, there are no confirmed appointments tonight. Committee reports, Park and Rec report, Dave Rice.
All right. Wow, that was quick. Right to
Yeah.
it. I like that. I like the additions to the township. That's more money into the Park and Rec Fund. I like that. Those are all wins. All right. So we had a lot on the plate this month. We had a lot going on. We got a bench park plan. Craig, would you be able to share that just for quick reference? If you have it, you're muted.
Okay, Greg.
You're muted.
It's going to take me a second to find.
That's fine. I just figured it in the background. So we have a bench
Okay.
plan. We have a tree plan. So we have a tree plan and a bench plan that we submitted, so everybody was able to see those items that we have for growth for existing, I should say, for growth for the tree plans, where we'd like to put those trees moving forward, what types of trees, pictures, locations, benches. We have existing benches. I think we're at 20, and some possible new locations, a couple movement of benches for the upcoming ceremonies for the memorial dedication, which I guess it's going to be 2 or 3 coming up. We have for the John Mann Memorial. We have another bench that's going to be migrated around with a new bench coming in. So we have a lot that we accomplished as far as detailing some for the actual township. So we have a lot of good details for where we'd like to grow in the park. As far as I'll go to the John Mann because that's a little lesser of a detail that we have as opposed to because that's going to be at 3 p.m. on November 8th. So it's going to be 2 hours after the Veterans Memorial dedication ceremony at 1 p.m. on November 8th. We're going to have a little dedication ceremony, or I should say memorial dedication for a new bench for John Mann. We're going to have a tree, tree that we're going to have next to it with a little plaque as well as on the bench, as well as in front of the tree with some nice wording. Those were ordered just today, actually. The bench was ordered yesterday. So I'll give you those details. Greg, I'll send those to you. I just got those confirmations on those prices and all those fine details for the park to receive those. As far as cleaning up, we'd like to request before November 8th, so it doesn't have to be like yesterday, or because the weeds will all grow back. If we could possibly have the island behind the Veterans Memorial cleaned up of weeds and possibly mulched, as well as, you know, maybe the berm and, you know, some of the other surrounding areas, if that's possible. I know you're down on staff, and it would be something that possibly we could. Oh, there we go. There's one of them. There's a tree plan. So we have the tree plan. We have a couple different areas all around the park where we have it, and we have some existing pictures of what's there in place, paging through of different locations of where we'd like to put the trees. Mostly they're going to be red maples or cherry trees, which are existing and thriving now. So we'd like to continue to keep that idea and those types of trees because they seem to thrive. I mean, those are the only ones. We had some other different ones that just didn't seem to, you know, stick around, whether it was the wet location or the location in general where they were planted. So we're going to, you know, look forward to getting those, you know, growing into those, however we buy those, purchase those, or get sponsors for trees, or however we are able to get those trees planted. The benches, the same kind of rotation, the red maples and or the cherries. So we have, some ideas of the amount of trees as well. And the park or the bench plan as well. That's for John Mann's dedication. We're going to remove that bench. We're going to take the plaque off of that one, relocate that to a new bench that's going to be located at another location. We're going to put a new bench in that place with a John Mann plaque. We're going to remove the I guess it's a tree that is behind it, directly behind it. That's going to get removed, and we're going to plant in another. If you could scroll down just a little bit, please. There's another to the next page, if you don't mind. And I think one more has the actual tree, what we're going to replace it. So that's the big tree behind the bench. So we're going to replace that with a new bench. And then I thought there was another page behind there.
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. So it's a Norway spruce behind it. So that's what we're looking to put, a Norway spruce next to the bench with a dedication plaque behind that for John Mann. So that's going to be on November 8th at 3 p.m. Those are a lot of details that we have that are available now to the township. So we have some good documentation for what we have existing and what we're looking to grow into. Now we got November 8th. It's going to be a huge dedication ceremony, and I say huge.
Dave, can I ask a question before you get into the ceremony?
Yeah.
I think the township should consider some in lieu of money from Grandview Hospital to help with these trees.
Okay.
I know that Grandview Hospital is not able to put in all the trees they needed to. They wanted to know what we could do. I would like all of us to consider using some of that, if not all of it, that in lieu of money for trees for the park.
That'd be cool.
That's just my opinion. The second thing, go ahead,
Jim. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share with you. I was going to make that suggestion when he was done with his report, so I do agree with you. Just so you know.
Great, thank you. I don't want to lose my place here. That's why I cut in.
Yep.
So, the bench you're removing and you're putting a tree there. I looked at that yesterday. It looks like there's really not enough room there to add another tree with the tree in the pavilion and another tree behind it. It just seems to me like it's going to be crowded. Did you think about that?
Yeah, I already talked to Greg and Seth about removing that tree that's behind the existing bench. So that existing bench is going to be upgraded and moved to another location with that plaque that's existing on there. So we can put a new bench that's there with a new plaque for John Mann and the tree that the Norway spruce in the existing location of that tree that's going to be removed.
Well, you're saying a tree. It's that shrubby looking thing, right?
It's a nice Christmas tree. We wanted something Norway spruce.
No, I'm sorry. What you're removing is that shrubby looking plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So my question is, there's another tree right behind that. Okay, and that's the one I'm concerned about. There's another tree right behind it. It just seems to me like they're all going to be
behind it. There's the pavilions are
growing into each other. If you look at the bench, looking at the picture of the bench, you've got the shrubby tree right behind it. That one. Just to the right of that, there's another tree that shades the Compassion Friends Garden. I would just take a look at that and tell me that if there's enough room when you take that scrubby piece out of there, that there's enough room to put in a tree and they can all mature without growing into each other. That's all I'd like to do. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think the Norway spruce is going to get that big and crazy out of control, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it's going to be a 7-foot tree to begin with, 7 to 8 foot tree. So that's what we're looking at. So till it grows, it's going to be 10 years. The other trees are going to be far and above, I think, a lot higher. So, but I will look into that and see what the top end of those Norway spruces are, how large they grow.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. Sorry to interrupt you there, but go ahead.
That's okay.
Excuse me, David Collingwood, I have something I'd like to say.
Sure.
And there was a lot of feedback just now during when Jim was talking, and I had a hard time hearing some of that. First of all, I'm very surprised that you ordered the bench without the Board of Supervisors approval. And I'm also surprised that you're planning on planting trees and deciding what tree to plant and where to plant it and what trees to remove without Board of Supervisors approval. I think that has to happen first as a matter of policy. In July, if you go back and look at the minutes, it was said that the supervisors should review the standards and specifications for the benches that are going to be placed in the park. And in August, we talked about the township policy that information for consideration should be submitted by noon of Friday prior to the Board of Supervisors meeting. It's now September. I've asked twice for an invoice with specifications, the size, the materials, and the amount of this new bench. And I haven't seen anything. I've seen a photograph. This is the old bench, and this is what we're going to replace. This is a tree that we're going to move. But I haven't seen anything. So I'm not personally in a position to approve the bench or the planting of a tree until the proper procedures are followed.
So you're saying it was because of they weren't turned in by what?
What I'm saying is you're planning, I don't know which tree you're planning to remove. I also went to the park and looked, and there's a shrubby bush behind the bench.
That's the one.
Tree. If you're going to, there's, and I believe there's 2 honey locust on either side of that. I don't believe there's room in that area for any other kind of a tree, especially if you put a spruce tree in there. It might be 7 feet now, but in 20 years, it's going to there's going to be issues with not only the pavilion, but with also the trees that are currently in there. I don't know if that's the right place for a tree.
I guess that's why we have a park tree plan, so we can upgrade and we can maintain and modify if we need to.
Plan, but it has not been approved.
Correct. I see what you're saying. I mean, I guess we wanted to get it in sooner than later, and the turnaround time on the bench and the plaques are anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We're at September 5th, 16th today, so 2 months. That's after the 8th. So you see the time frame. So that's why I'm kind of, I mean, I could have purchased it and then get reimbursed. I mean, is that what we're talking about?
No,
I mean,
if you're buying a bench, you probably already know what it's made of, the size, material.
Correct.
I'm asking for that information, and I have been asking for that information, and I haven't seen it.
The bench is the same one we approved in the July meeting, which you were absent of at the park. We approved that of the wooden concrete bench where we were outside. We approved of the wooden bench that is existing. I sent the picture in that document that I sent Friday evening, 9:30, 10 o'clock.
That's a rec meeting. I'm talking about the supervisors meeting.
Okay, so your question is because it's not approved and I ordered it?
I'm surprised that you ordered without it being approved.
Would you have preferred me to? Do you understand the time frame? I guess that's where the comment is. It seems kind of we're on a forefront of a dedication to some fabulous people here and some fabulous items, and I guess to be proactive, which is what you were asking with the plans, from a day from when we had those presented at the Park and Rec meeting to a day later to have those in hand, to now be concerned because you didn't voice your opinion Thursday night about having them, when they were going to be purchased. You just wanted the plan. Do you see my point?
I hear you. A second.
May I?
Go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead. Nope, I'm going to wait till you're done, and then I'll be speaking my piece.
I have another question, but it has nothing. It has to do with the dedication ceremony.
You done?
I am finished.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Jay.
Thank you. Okay, at last month's meeting, Mr. Collingwood told me in this public meeting that he was at the meeting that they talked about that bench, and he was not. Okay, and if he had questions regarding the location or what the bench was constructed of, he could have asked them from the Park and Rec. That's what I used to do when I was the liaison to the Park and Rec. But it seems to me that Mr. Collingwood has an issue with the Park and Rec and the committee members. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm not happy with his comments that he has just made or his demeanor. And I want the public to know that right now. We have talked about a bench for John Mann and a tree for how many months? And I thought we discussed last month that we were going to get it done. And neither one of you had a problem with it at that time. So I'm confused and very concerned of what is happening here in this township with the liaison to the Park and Rec and the communication dysfunction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. David, you want to continue with your, I'm sorry, Dave, you want to continue with
Sure.
your ceremonies?
Yep, absolutely. So we have our Veterans Dedication Ceremony coming up November 8th, 1 p.m. We're going to look to we have quite a few I was going to say we have a whole lot of important people coming. So I think the idea is to keep those numbers within the 250 required for social gathering outside at one time, social distancing, masks. We're going to have the final details worked out for the October meeting. Maggie, Suzanne, and myself have been meeting to get those details to transfer the message back and forth with the Park and Rec members. So we're having all the finalizations of the VFW, the American Legion, the Scouts, the prayer, some state representatives, how the whole agenda of the dedication day is going to go. That's why I guess we were thinking about possibly asking to see if we could have all the details cleaned up for the park, and if need be, we could have, if there's, possibly, if not, I take a day and we just run around and we do that stuff. But as far as, we have the allocated funds for the dedication ceremony. We purchased a couple items as well for like flags for the lots, for the handouts, for a little reminder, thank you of people in attendance, just something to be, so they can remember this. It's a huge, important event for a lot of people. And I think it's important that they're able to share in the memories of it. We're also looking to get a photographer so we can post some pictures. So we have some good memories of the dedication ceremony, because I think it's hugely important for the ceremony or for the township, for the veterans, just to make it a special day for them. Because I mean, they've given a lot. So I think we should show at least that. So I think those details will be ironed out. You'll have all those details prior to the Friday prior to the Board of Supervisors meeting. Park and Rec, David, you'll see all those details at the Park and Rec meeting, as far as agenda, all the details as far as who's going to be there in attendance and those kind of details. So if you have questions, bring those to us. Let me think what else. I think that's all for the Veterans Dedication Ceremony. Yep.
Dave, is your plan to build a seating chart so you know how people are going to be spread out? Is that part of your plan?
Yeah, the idea is to have chairs basically 6 foot apart. So then when families come, we can congregate them. If they're families, they can, shuffle them together. So you're allowing more space. Looking for those chairs to be donated from local church. So that's kind of what we're looking to do, looking to have on a number of 200 to, 200 chairs donated for church, and to do something of that nature, because we don't have that many in the park. It looks at tree plan. Let's see. And then I think that was it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions for Dave?
I have none.
I have none.
All right, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the Park and Rec report?
Oh, hold on a minute, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Are we not moving forward with the request to purchase the bench?
The bench has already been purchased.
Yeah, I know. I mean, are we approving that? Are we moving forward with approving that, or are we just not? Are we just tabling it because they already did purchase it?
I was going past it. It was already purchased, but if you want to make a formal approval process, then, I think.
Well, no, there's no need to. I guess if you're already moving past it. I thank you for the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question.
Yeah.
The tree plan, we would need authorization, if the board's okay with that, to send it to our township engineer to suggest what trees should go in those locations.
Okay. All right. Then we'll put a motion out. Would someone make a motion to forward the tree plan to our township engineer for review?
I will make that motion. Jay Kaiser.
Thank you, Jay. Do I have a second?
I will second David Collingwood.
Thank you, David. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let's just for the sake of keeping things formal, I will make a motion to approve the purchase of the bench for John Mann. Since it's already been purchased, we might as well go ahead and do that. I will make a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes, you have a second. Mr. Chairman, I want to just iterate. I thought that I made that motion last month for John Mann's tree and bench. Maybe I didn't, but we may want to check on that to be corrected if I didn't. But I do think I spoke quite adamantly about that.
Okay, we can go back and look, but let's just make the
Yep,
motion.
you got it. You have your second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on. It passed.
Thank you.
Police report. Chief Rod Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Penridge Regional Police Department responded to 583 calls for service in August. Of those, 250 were in East Rock Hill Township and 333 were in West Rock Hill Township. The department handled 14 traffic crashes. 8 crashes were in East Rock Hill and 6 crashes were in West Rock Hill. 9 of those were reportable crashes and 5 were non-reportable crashes. Department handled 6 Part 1 crimes and 31 Part 2 crimes in August. The crimes in West Rock Hill as follows: a motor vehicle theft, 2 other theft cases, 2 fraud cases, 4 disorderly conduct cases, 1 driving under the influence case, 1 public drunkenness, 1 synthetic narcotics manufacturer sale case, 2 ordinance violations, and 2 dog law violations. In East Rock Hill, the crimes are as follows: 3 theft cases, 3 DUI cases, 2 fraud cases, 1 harassment case, 8 ordinance violations, 1 criminal mischief, 1 trespass, 1 disorderly conduct, and 1 scattering of rubbish. The charges filed for August are as follows: 1 endangering the welfare of a child, 1 possession of heroin, 1 possession of drug paraphernalia, 2 charged with DUI, 7 charged with criminal trespass, 1 charged with disorderly conduct, 4 charges for confinement of dogs or loose dogs running loose, and 2 were charged with harboring a dangerous dog. Officers responded to conducted 203 traffic enforcement details, 65 details on Old Bethlehem Pike. Officers issued 6 verbal traffic warnings, 27 traffic citations, and 35 written warnings. And officers also conducted 342 business checks. I'd just like the board to take note that the reason why there's increased traffic details on Old Bethlehem Pike, we did several speed surveys there and found a higher percentile of speeding vehicles. So we're targeting enforcement there daily, both in East Rock Hill and in West Rock Hill. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the police report.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for the chief? David?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the chief's report?
So moved, David Collingwood.
And a second?
I'll second it. Jay Kaiser. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Joint Rec Authority, we have been busy at the pool. We finally got some work going. It's fall, so we want to get some things done. As you'll see some pictures coming up here on the screen. I want to thank Tony Bodner for coming over and bringing his assistant Billy to spend a day over there of hard labor. Tony spent the day cutting out three big squares where we know we have leaky pipes underneath the pool, and he worked very hard and got very dirty. The sections he cut out, Sherry, can you just, yeah, okay, were pretty large, and we'll be able now to repair those, get cement put back in, and then once that's all done, we can sandblaze the whole thing, and then be ready in the spring to paint it. That's one of the holes right there that was completely cut out, and then I don't know if you have any others, Sherry. We had about 8 pictures there. Some of Tony's equipment. You can see there's somebody up in the more deep end, up by the sliding board, working there. So it was a long day, and Tony had a lot of equipment there. So Tony, I really want to thank you again for all the work you did, and you've always been a very helpful volunteer for this township, and I want to make sure everybody understands that. So that's all I had for that part.
I'll second that there, Mr. Chairman, as well. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate your hard efforts there, and I know how difficult it is to get people to volunteer, and you saved the township and the pool a whole lot of money.
Thank you.
I totally agree, Tony. Great job. Appreciate it.
Yep. Now, what Dave Rivette, the Sellersville Borough Manager, and I surveyed the trees. We've got just trees dying all over everywhere, but within the township property, we found 11 that really have to come down because they're either in the pool area or could fall in the parking lot. I'd say about, of the 11, probably 7 or 8 of them we can take down because they're not going to harm anything. They'll fall into a field or into a grassy area, but the rest will need a bucket truck to go up them because they're either near wires or they're hanging over the YMCA building. So that's what we're looking at now. We'd like to get that done in the next month or so. So we'll give you an update on that next time, but that's something Dave and I are working on. Back to the question from last month. Sellersville Borough put in $19,000 and West Rock Hill hasn't put anything in. So I'm going to ask you two for your comments this time. We were not able to get any additional money, and even so, money that's donated is different than money that is coming from the township. I can say that if money's put in and there's money left over, that will go immediately toward next year, because I don't really know. Dave had done a calculation. Dave Rivette had done a calculation on how much we needed. That's where he came up with the $38,000 for the remainder of the year. So if I could ask some comments, Jay, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. I don't support funding any more money to the pool. I think we're over what we had maxed. I would like to ask about the trees that you have discussed of taking down, where you're going to get the funding for that to pay for the bucket truck, or are you going to do it yourself with the borough and the township?
We were planning on doing everything except the bucket truck part, and that money would have to come out of this money that's in the budget. The 38,000 we're talking about.
Yeah. Yes, I got you there. I just wondered. I didn't hear. Did you get any estimates? Do you have any kind of numbers that you're what you even know it's going to cost to do?
No, we don't yet. We just started working on this week.
Okay. Would you be getting some estimates to see what that is going to cost to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll be getting those in the next week or two.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So you are a no on additional money. Okay.
I'm a no on the additional money. That's correct.
Okay.
I think it should be fundraised from the communities. Between the borough and the township, there are plenty of businesses, and I think that people should be putting their feet to the pavement to look for that money.
We have been looking.
Look at what you did. Look at what you did with Tony there. I mean, that was a tremendous amount of savings to the pool and to the township and the borough. So I'm just giving you my opinion. That's all. I understand that this is a process.
David?
Yeah, I have. My first question was there any more in donations? I think you've answered that. And I was going to ask you about the GoFundMe page, and I don't think anything more has come in from that.
It has not.
We've been in a joint ownership with this pool for what, over 50 years?
That's correct.
And it's a community pool. It's for the benefit of both communities. I guess my question to Mr. Kaiser is, if you don't want to put $19,000 towards repairs, how are you going to move forward if we don't get that money? I mean, you're talking about public donations, yet we haven't gotten any.
That's up, Mr. Collingwood, that is up to the Joint Rec Authority. That is a governing body of its own. And they are responsible for managing and finding ways to fund that pool. The monies that the townships give to that pool were merely to do capital improvements there. And I don't think it's ever been used that proper way. And we've discussed this many, many times in the past. West Rock Hill has what, Jim, 60 season ticket holders in that pool? Somewhere around that area.
I'm not sure what it was this year, but it's mostly people that are with day passes that come in. There's $100,000 worth of day passes coming in, I think, something like that.
I do acknowledge that, and I do understand that. But my comment to Mr. Collingwood is I don't think that the township or the borough should be funding additional monies to keep that pool running. If it can't run on its own, we have to make some tough decisions. I support the pool. I've done a lot to support the pool, and even helped in getting the header system for the pump house at a free donation from the company I work for. But you have to draw the line somewhere how much money you're going to spend of your taxpayers. And it hasn't been budgeted. Nobody's discussed budgeting money or any ways to pay for that. All you're looking to do here is you're looking to rob from the reserves or from our general fund to give more money. My question is, where does it stop?
It stops when COVID's over. Because if it wasn't for COVID, we would have had all the money this year. We don't. It's like everybody else around here who's suffering from the COVID pandemic.
Was that a request to borrow the money from the township?
No, it was not. It was a request to fund. It was a request to fund a pool in a dire situation that we're in right now because of COVID-19. That's what it was.
Okay.
Mr. Miller,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the minutes from Joint Rec on August 6th, and it said that the borough manager had requested that he was going to request an additional $19,000 from the borough council for support of the Joint Rec Authority. Has that been approved by the borough of Sellersville?
It was unanimously approved by the borough council, and the money was put into the fund, the Park and Rec. The Holiday House Pool Fund, the following day. So the money
you stated that last month. Yeah.
What was that, Jay?
I said you did state that last month. I listened to that. I think David should have heard that as well.
Yeah.
I'm reading from the minutes.
Yep.
So, Mr. Chairman, what is the drop dead date for needing to make a decision, if we make that decision of $19,000?
When the Holiday House Pool cash flow stops, that's the drop dead time, because the $19,000 they put in is not going to last forever. It's going for mowing and insurance. It's going for electricity. I mean, there's all these. There's just so many things that you have to pay for, even though we're closed down. So, and I will.
Can the pool bar? Oh, I'm sorry. I talked out of turn. I apologize.
No, go right ahead, Jay.
I was going to ask you, can the pool borrow money to do those kinds of improvements at low interest rates, like the townships do?
That's what I'm going to have to look into, because if we don't have a unanimous decision, I will not move this forward. I don't think it's fair if we don't have a unanimous decision that we move it forward. So
I do respect your position, Mr. Chairman. I want you to know that.
That's and this is a dead issue right now. There's nothing to vote on. So that will be it. Okay, moving on. Can I get a motion to approve the Joint Rec Authority report?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I will second David Collingwood.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tax collector report, Suzanne Clark.
Okay, slow month, unfortunately. For the month of September, I've collected $287.34 in annual taxes and a 2019 interim tax bill of $12.76. That is the highlight of my report.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that wasn't worth going to the bank, was it?
I will report, though, that as long as everyone knows that the office is back open, my tax collector's office, my regular hours are back. So people can come into the municipal building and still pay their taxes in person. So that's been very important to people to know that they can come in and make.
Great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions for Suzanne Clark, our tax collector?
I have none. Jay Kaiser.
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the tax collector's report. Do I have a second?
You have a second? I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Engineers report.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item we had on the report is the solar bid packets. As you recall from discussions last month, this is for the ground mount system at the township, at the municipal building. That'll serve the municipal building and also under a joint meter project, other facilities of the township. So we were able to cobble together some specifications based on information that our consultants have given us, some other municipal projects that we found that were similar, and the prior solar project that we worked on several years ago for the township that ultimately we didn't proceed with. So this is it's a draft specification that we put in the packet for discussion. Mr. Chairman, you've recently provided a bunch of comments that were duly noted and we have to address. I also had a discussion with Mary Eberly today on the format of the bidding. And one of the things that came out of our prior discussions is that we were going to bid this where the contractor will complete the design of the facility and the construction all at one step. I had split that out in the bid packet as different pay items. And after some discussions, I think we're going to combine that back together to make it just the bid is to requires a contractor to install a system and all the work that's required to install the system. But what we can do is we could, as part of their bid submission, we will ask them to submit a schematic plan of the system they intend to install and the equipment choices that they're proposed to include in the facility. That way, when we review the bid specs, we'll have a better handle on the overall scheme of what's being proposed, the quality of the equipment, even though we'll have warranty requirements in there. But people may choose different brands of equipment. And then, so we'll have that ability to review that information before we award a bid. If we're not comfortable with what the low bidder is proposing, it's not exactly what the township was looking for, we would then have the ability to reject the bids and rebid it with a slightly modified specification. We couldn't just go to a second bidder because we liked theirs better if they were higher price because of the municipal bidding requirements. But we would have the ability to end that bid and then modify the documents to tailor it to what we want to see and rebid it. So that, and the other thing I wanted to point out, I also included an alternate in this bid package for operation and maintenance contract for the life of the facility. So we listed that as an alternate. The township won't have to go with it if they don't want to, but at least you'll get pricing for that item.
Okay. With the input you've already had, Stephen, with what I gave you back, do you have enough information to get the final copy ready based on all of that information and posted this week?
Well, this week I have enough information. I have enough information to get the entire package together. We'll have to advertise it and that takes a few days to get in the paper. So most likely the advertisement would be at earliest Monday, Tuesday, and we'd
Okay.
have it posted online by that time. But yes, we could do that.
I'm only saying that because that would mean we would have the 30 days that it was bid and have it in time for us to have reviewed everything that came in for the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt you for a second, please?
Yes.
I hear talking in the background from somebody. Do you hear that too? Anybody else?
Yeah, I have been. I hope everyone will please go on mute.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
here.
like two people talking or something over Steve when he's trying to explain
Yeah,
things to
I
you.
heard that too, Jay. So everyone, please go on mute. Okay, so the bid is for a system that'll produce it'll be a 70 kilowatt system. It will produce electric actually for all the electric the township uses, every street light, every turn signal. I'm sorry, every street light, every traffic light, all the park systems, all the wells we have, everything. So I would like to get this out. So Steve, I would be happy to work with you any way I can over the next couple of days if you need anything from me.
I'll make these minor changes, and then I'll get you back the final draft so you could see what
Okay.
we
Perfect.
come up with.
So
In the meantime, we can get the advertisement ready and sent to the paper. So we have those couple of days to work with, but we'll get the advertisement out so that gets in process.
okay, then I would like to hear from Jay and David.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I want it to be known publicly that I have my doubts and questions about this electric solar power. I know there was a wonderful presentation done. I know that Jim, you did a tremendous amount of work with your coal, but I will tell you, after this last month's meeting, I've been looking at some videos and stuff on the internet, and I watched one in particular from the Prager Institute, and it explained very clearly how solar and wind is not cheaper, and it is not more efficient than what we are currently using, fossil fuels. And some of the issues that you have with solar is what's going on in California right now, where they're having blackouts because they can't make enough electricity with solar and wind because they banned some of the other types of fuels out there. So I'm not committing to I think what you're asking is just to put this out to bid right now.
That's correct.
But I want it to be known, I have not been sold on solar power.
Okay.
So I just want that to be known, okay? And then I will yield the floor to David.
Yeah, I have a question. Based on what Steve has said and the discussions we've had this evening, what are we going to do this evening? We're going to approve that the revised invitation to bid go out based on the changes that Steve intends to make and that you're going to review. Because we're not going to wait until the October meeting to go through this process again. Am I correct?
That's what I'm requesting. Yes. Okay. That we do this now. Yeah.
We do it now, knowing that Steve is going to make some changes and you're going to review them and you're going to.
We will. In fact, all three of us will have a chance to review them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that.
Are there any other questions?
I have one thing, Mr. Chairman, I would like to add to my concerns is, and we didn't really talk about it last month, is the fact that this is proposed to be behind the township building, which is going to be in part of our park. When we develop the park on the Moore side, Moore Farm, that's going to be in our park. What is going to keep people from vandalizing it, and what's going to protect it as far as the normal traffic that's going to be going through there with people going to the park when we make that park and that parking lot down there? Has that been considered at all?
I've considered that a lot. First of all, Jay, it will be sitting approximately 70 feet behind the township building. It won't be down on the Moore property. It will actually be tucked up right against the tank, the sewer tank that's back there. and spread out east to west. Now, having said that, it will need fencing. We will need fencing. And one of the things I was going to recommend that we make this a community project, that we work with the Conservation Committee. And I have not asked them yet, so I'm throwing this out there for the first time, that I would like to see the Conservation Committee come up with a plan for the way we put fencing around it, what kind of fencing we use that's aesthetically pleasing, and that they come up with a plan for putting pollinators and other wildflowers underneath of it, rather than have it an area that's filled with rocks and could draw snakes and other problems that have happened with things that just have ground, the wrong kind of ground cover under there. I think it's very possible to make that a beautiful area underneath and draw in a lot of wildlife. So that's my plan. And like I said, I have not mentioned this yet to the Conservation Committee, so some of them just heard it.
Well,
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, the Conservation Committee does have a meeting planned for tomorrow evening. Hopefully, but it might be a good time to consider mentioning that.
I can do that, because one of the other things I want to do, if this moves forward, I want to involve the tech school. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the tech school students to get information out of this. I also want to involve the Bucks County IU STEM program. I think there's some pretty smart girls in that STEM program, and we want to have a dashboard, so to speak, on our website that shows production. It shows what we're saving in money, how much carbon we're, the whole thing, the whole issue of how much it's generating and everything. So the township can see what's going on, not just see these panels back there soaking in electric. So, I mean, that's my longer range plan. I hadn't gotten to that yet because we haven't really gotten to a point where we've put it out to bid or anything. So
Right.
Now, having to follow up on Jay's question, I know many, many, many solar projects that have gone in, and I haven't seen any problem with them. And I've asked people if they've had a problem, and they have not. I haven't had a single problem with mine in over 10 years. And I know that you say they don't save money. Well, my electric bill is zero. So that's my answer to that question. So anyway, I would like to move forward with this tonight and allow Steve to finish up the documents and then advertise it. And then when it's approved, put it out to bid. So can I get a motion to move forward with those plans?
I would make that motion. David Collingwood.
Okay. Do I have a second to move forward with the bid process? I will make that second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. So Steve, you and I can start talking tomorrow. And like I said, I'll get you any information I can if you need it. And we'll get something together for David and Jay to look over too.
Okay, we will do that.
Thank you.
And the second item on the agenda was Fedegari Technologies. If you recall that project there on Bethlehem Pike, they did the building addition in the back and all their parking lot improvements. We've been waiting a long time for them to finish up their punch list, and they finally have done that. One thing to note is they never built the second building. There's another addition to the rear of the building. It was sort of their phase 2. And they also had planned for a future residential house on the property, which was for their overseas owner and other trainees at the facility to stay when they were in the area. Those 2 items have not been built, but all of the site improvements have been built. So they've taken care of everything with stormwater, with tree plantings, buffer yards, et cetera. So they are requesting that we reduce you accept the project as complete at this time, and we reduce their escrow down to the maintenance retainage level. And then they'll have an 18-month maintenance period yet on that. Don't know, is there any questions on that request?
I have one, but
Yes.
if I may. Steve, there was a driveway that wasn't completed the edge of it, the end of it being paved on Old Mill. Was that taken care of?
That was done this summer. I spoke to the property owner, and my understanding, he was satisfied with the work that was done.
All right. That's what I wanted to make sure of, because that's the property owner that had complained to me. So
Yep,
as
we
long as
tracked
that has been done, I'm happy.
Okay. Any comments, David?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
So
We would be looking for a motion to accept the project as complete and reduce the funds down to escrow retainage.
all right, could we get a motion to list the project as complete and reduction of escrow?
So moved, David Collingwood.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second it, Jay. Kaji.
All right. Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the third item I have on the agenda is the Procon roofing project. That's formerly the Wesco site along Bethlehem Pike. If you recall, that's sort of located in a open field between Greentop Road and the salt shed, the PennDOT salt shed buildings. And I believe we have the engineer, Jason, you're on the call tonight. Well, maybe Jason's muted. I'm just looking down to the list. He was on here earlier.
He's there. He just has to unmute himself. He's- Just put your mouse down towards
All
the
right,
button.
am I on? Sorry, I'm not used to Google. I was hitting the button up in my picture in the left-hand side, so I'm hitting it and hitting it, and nothing's happening. Apologize for that. But we are here. This is a project that I'm sure you remember from a few years ago with Wesco Construction. At the time, it was fairly controversial due to the client and the possible use there. So Wesco was Wesco Construction, but also demolition, and there was some concerns about recycling. So we went through a pretty rigorous process with the Planning Commission at that time for the Wesco project when it was for Wes. Now, unfortunately, Wes Doolittle, his wife passed away. He's had some health problems. He decided to sell the property, which is good for Procom Roofing. So Procom Roofing is going to be, has actually purchased the property. Well, they purchased the property under Sellersville Management LLC. That'll be the owner of the property. But to operate Procom Roofing, which is still the same use as what was originally approved, which is a G4 contractor use, still having the outdoor storage only to a lesser degree. Essentially, from an engineering standpoint, we pretty much followed the original Wesco plan. The configurations of the buildings are a little bit different. We have a little bit more building area, but I don't know if you recall the original plan. Wes was going to be using like salvaged buildings and rebuilding them here at the site, and he was going to configure them with a courtyard. So if you look at it from an overall impact, we're roughly the same, but we'll be adding about 1,600 square feet of building area from the originally approved plan, and something like I think we're like 3,000 square or 4,800 additional square feet of impervious coverage, which is about 3% of an increase from the originally approved plan, but still well under what's allowable by the ordinance. At the time with Wesco, we went through a lot of discussion about buffers and trees and whatnot, and we pretty much held to all of those same standards in every case, other than in some cases making things better. When this project was reviewed by the Planning Commission, I believe it was in June, we had talked about some of the landscaping and the waivers, and ultimately they ended up unanimously approving the application. So we're here tonight asking for a final approval on this project, subject to the conditions outlined in the Township Engineer's review letter, all of which will comply or in the works. PennDOT, we received the permit. We're working with the Conservation District. We do have our holding tanks permit since we don't have a septic. There's no place for a septic system. We are doing a holding tank, and that has been approved. A few very minor engineering issues that we have to clean up, actually very minor. And then the normal developers agreements, construction cost estimate. I guess the items that I want to talk to you about would be the waivers, which are all the same as that were previously granted with the Westco property, with the exception that with the Planning Commission, we had asked for a waiver of 4 shade trees that were required. And the Planning Commission requested that those 4 trees be planted elsewhere on the site, and we agreed to do that, and the plan shows that. So I don't know if we need to officially need a waiver since we're still providing those trees, but I think the waiver still applies because we're not using them as shade trees. But of course, we'll be offering the fee in lieu of road improvements out in the front. We're requesting a waiver from the traffic impact study, although we did provide some traffic count data, and we're in line with what Westco was, and certainly very minimal impact for this type of use. We're also requesting a partial waiver from the paving requirements. So the portion of the back of the property, the outdoor storage area, we're requesting a waiver to allow that to be stone. But the whole visible portion in front of the fence would be paved, and all of the parking spaces in the front would be paved. So what you'd be looking at would be all nice, clean, paved areas. And then one thing else I want to point out is that at this point in time, Procom is only planning on building the back building. The front building would just be in the future if they ever expand, although they don't have plans to do that anywhere in the near future. So they essentially be working in the back there. And then maybe at some point in the future, if they need the space, if they do expand, or if they want to get into something different related to roofing, they have the ability to do that. But only the back building is going to be built here at this time.
Jason, could I interrupt you here for a second? Without building the front building, you would still be constructing the paved parking area in the front. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the idea is to just have a pad site there ready to go whenever they need it.
All right. So all the improvements will be done at this time, and then you'll just have to build a building in the future if they decide to expand. That's
correct. Yep. In terms of the building itself, I don't know if you're familiar with the Nova Thrift Store in Hilltown at the corner of Broad and 313, but they're going to try to do something like that, have some architectural interest, but still be a nice commercial building. In terms of what they do, from an impact standpoint, kind of feel that the roofing business is less of an impact than potentially what could have happened with the Westco. So I think in that regard, we're in line with everything that was previously approved, and if not better. And I guess the only thing that we might be doing a little bit more of than we did on the Westco project is that we are planning on having 3 pole lights in the back of the building. We'll have some building mounted lights. We also have 3 pole mounted lights in the back. We are complying with all the township requirements. We're probably putting them at 12 feet, I believe, is what we're going to set those poles at. But that's probably the only aspect that I feel like we're increasing. And everything else I feel is a decrease for the most part from the previously approved plan. So happy to answer any questions that you have, but we're asking for an approval of the waivers. And Bob Harrington is on the phone, and if you have any specific questions about what it is he does, you can ask him. I don't know if you got it, but there was also a project summary that we had to submit. So if you read through that, I think it probably answers a lot of questions that you might have about that as well. So happy to take any of your questions, or if I don't want to just keep on talking, I'm going to listen to you guys.
This is Steve again. The only thing I would like to clarify is we have the outstanding approval for the Westco project, and how the township, administratively we've been processing this project is a revision to the previously approved plan, and they're generally in accordance with all the conditions that were in the prior resolution. As Jason said, they're asking for the same waivers. It's generally the same project. So if you do move forward with the project tonight, it would be to approve it as a revised final plan with all the conditions that were set before as modified, by the engineering review letter.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Jay or David, do you have any questions?
Jay Kaiser. I don't have any questions. I followed this plan before. I think it's pretty straightforward. And if you so choose, I would make the motion to approve final.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
If Mr. Collingwood does not.
I'm
David?
fine. I was going to defer to the township engineer.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I followed the review letter and I followed the revised final plan concept. Did you say they're not going to build the building?
We're not going to build the front building. There's two buildings, and there's a bigger building in the back, and there's a smaller building in the front. We're going to be building the building in the back, but the building in the front won't be built right away. That would be in the future.
That helps. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay. There's no comments here. Steve, do you have anything to follow up with?
I do not. It's as straightforward as Jason described.
Okay.
So
So
you're looking for a motion to authorize me to prepare a revised final plan resolution?
yes, with all the previously discussed conditions. So we have a motion put on the table by Jay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
And for the applicant's benefit, it's, if you remember, Jason, our process is the solicitor will prepare the actual resolution language and distribute that before next month's meeting. And you'll have the opportunity to review that, make any comments, and then it'll be formally voted on at the next Board of Supervisors meeting.
Yeah, and actually, I had forgotten that was your process, so I was just going to ask to clarify that. So the resolution will be written, and then once that's done, it'll get on at the next meeting, but probably not anticipating any kind of presentation at the time. Is that correct?
Correct. You will have the opportunity to see it before the meeting. If you indicate, or your applicant indicates that they have no objections to how it's written, then it'll simply be put on the agenda for a formal vote.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, I really appreciate it, and thank you. It's great to be back in West Rock Hill Township, and thank you for your support of this project.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else from the from our engineer?
That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the engineer's report?
So moved, David Collingwood.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second it, Jay Kaiser.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay, solicitor's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There's only one item under my solicitor's report this evening, and that's a resolution to grant preliminary/final approval to the Grandview Hospital expansion plan that you saw last month. There is a resolution in your packet. There has been one change to the resolution as a result of the back and forth with the hospital in the last week or so. And that is, if you have the resolutions in front of you, on page 8, there's a small Roman numeral 2 that waives the widening and road improvements along Lawn Avenue in consideration of repairs and revisions and changes that would be made to signals and ramp intersections with 309 a little further up on Lawn Avenue. The applicant was concerned that it was signing a blank check, and we were concerned that without some kind of idea of what the improvements could be, we could be putting the township in a position where they would not receive any road improvements in exchange for waiving the Lawn Avenue road improvements. So we do have a wonderful relationship with Grandview Hospital, and they were very reasonable, and we tried to be reasonable. So the only change that's being made is there's a D a subparagraph D under the Roman numeral 2, the little Roman numeral 2, on page 8 that says that one of the improvements could be the installation of a right turn lane on the northbound off-ramp from 309. They were concerned that that could be a very, very expensive item, and we agreed that we would remove it from the resolution. There's a lot more back and forth than that, but that is the sum and substance of where we landed.
Okay.
So if that's acceptable to the board, I would be looking for a motion to approve resolution 2015.
Okay.
2015, sorry.
Okay. Jay, you were going to say something?
Yep, I was going to say I'll make that motion if you are asking for one.
Okay. Do I have a second?
David, you'll second.
Okay. Thank you, David. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. So go ahead, Mary. You have anything else?
I do not have anything else except to say that for the first time since we've been doing virtual meetings, I actually remembered to bring the resolutions to the township building, not just home with me. So they're there and for your signature when you have a moment.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the solicitor's report?
So moved, David Collingwood.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Township manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is the 2021 MMO. Every year, the township staff has to report to the Board of Supervisors the minimum municipal obligation for the West Rock Hill Township pension at 205 of 1984. On your back, it has a calculation of the minimal municipal obligation for the pension, which is $53,968. The board does not have to approve it. It just has to be reflected in the minutes that it was given to you.
Okay, thank you.
The next item in your packet is the township got an energy audit report for the township building. And you have in your packets, the township building is in decent shape. However, there is some recommendations of work that should be done in the township. And if you go through it, I think it's on, let's see here. And they give you an estimated energy cost and energy things. There's some leakage that is going on through 3 of the doors, not the new door that we installed. There's 2 side doors and there's a basement door. There's also some ventilation problems. And there's also recommended insulating the attic. Back in the late 70s, the insulation is not as good as what's spraying foam in there. And you have a total estimated cost of $9,000 if this company does this. This will greatly improve the energy efficiency of the township. And if the board would consider doing it now, which I would recommend for $9,000 to improve the efficiency. If the board does not go with it, I will put it in the 2021 budget for consideration.
I would like to move forward with it because what you didn't mention was there's a 6-year payback.
Yeah, yes, there is.
Of about $1,500 a year. Thereabouts.
Up in 6 years.
Right. So after 6 years, we will have reaped all the money we put back or we took out and put back in. And after that, it's just pure savings in energy. So I would like to hear from David and Jay.
Well, my first question was, if it's $9,000, is it going to be, can we do all, or do we do nothing, or can we do a partial? And it looks as if it's just a complete package that we do. We spend $9,000 and do everything at the same time that they have recommended.
Yeah, I didn't ask for partial. I mean, once they come out, I would like them to do all $9,000.
Well, I can't see them have them come out and do one door this year and one door next year. I mean, that's down to doors and windows and insulation.
Yeah, it was just a question, and the
Yep.
second question I had was, what is the return on our investment? And I know it's 6 years, so those are my two questions.
All right. Comments, Jay?
I support it 100%.
Okay.
This should have been done already, in my opinion, because the insulation is the big. That's the biggest thing. You're going to save those energy costs right now if you do that insulation that they're recommending.
I agree.
And I think if you need a motion, I'd make the motion to move forward with this immediately.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
You have a second from David Collingwood.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Thank you.
The next item on the report is William Propsner's letter of retirement. It says, please accept this letter, a notification of my retirement effective October 2nd, 2020. I've enjoyed my time working for the township and thank you for the opportunity to be part of a small family. All good things must come to an end.
I've seen Bill a lot out on the roads, cleaning ditches and mowing and doing all kinds of stuff. So we will miss him a lot.
Yes, Bill actually planned on retiring in March of this year. He stayed on because of the COVID situation. So he stayed longer than what he anticipated.
Thank you. Okay.
I would like to just say that we're gonna miss a lot of experience there. Bill was a very experienced truck driver, CDL mechanic, almost a jack of all trades, just about, from my opinion, what I've experienced, and I've known him for a pretty long time. I would like to ask if you are accepting this, that we move forward immediately with advertising for a replacement, because we're going to need him. I mean, we're going to need somebody to fill that position.
Exactly.
I need actually two motions. I would need the board to accept his letter of resignation as one motion. And then after that, I would ask the board for a motion to authorize advertisement for a part-time public works position.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the resignation of Bill?
Retirement.
Retirement. Sorry.
Retirement.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can I get a motion to authorize Greg to go out and look for a replacement?
So move, David.
I'll make that motion. Oh,
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The next item is there is an email in your packets for a request of no parking along Old Mill Road. We've having some issues with some trucks parking along Old Mill Road. So the resident requested that the township draft an ordinance for no parking.
I think that's a terrible place to have people parking, especially trucks. But Jay, what your opinion, Jay?
Well, my opinion as a professional truck driver, that road is too narrow. It isn't really wide enough so as it is for two-lane traffic. So I would agree that there shouldn't be any parking on Old Mill Road.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just chime in here for a second. I think a lot of the problem has to do with the truck repair facility, and the fact that they're under construction now they've been jockeying trucks around wherever they could fit them for the moment. They're getting close to getting the new parking lot completed and the work up along the road completed. That will then give them the room to get the trucks back on the site. And it was not set up to have parking along the road. So, no parking would be appropriate along that property because it was not intended in the approved plan to have parking along Old Mill Road at the truck repair facility.
Okay. Thank you. So can I get a motion to make Old Mill Road, to have Old Mill Road designated as a no parking area?
You would make a motion for the solicitor to draft an ordinance.
Okay. Can I get a motion to have the solicitor draft an ordinance for no parking on Old Mill Road?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second, David Collingwood.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. So moved.
The next item is authorization for legal action. 20 Bethlehem Pike. At last month's meeting, you appointed a conflict solicitor. Also in your packet, on July 2nd, there is a notice of violation for a violation of the stormwater management, constructing a parking lot without any stormwater management and E&S controls. The property has not come into compliance at this time, and I would like the board's authorization to proceed with legal action.
Okay. Do I have a motion to proceed with legal action on 1220 Bethlehem Pike?
You do. I'll make that motion. Jay Kaiser.
I'll second that one. So let's move, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right. Do you have any other items?
I have one additional item. Okay, at 3:30, PennDOT notified us that they are closing Ridge Valley Road tomorrow and Friday. This is the same time that our Tower Road project's going. So there'll be a little bit of confusion in the township with two of those roads closed. But we just got informed, I put it on the website, I tweeted it out, but Ridge Valley will be closed Thursday and Friday to replace two pipes.
And I think you had also said that there are ways for people to get out of Tower Road. If they can get out of Tower Road, they will be able to get down.
One way, they'll be able to get around one way or the other, depending on what.
Okay. As long as people aren't locked in there. Good, Jay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask the manager if they're going to be cleaning the ditches out when they do those pipes
I would
on
hope
Ridge Valley Road?
I just got notified of this at 3:30 today, which I forwarded to the board.
Yep.
Got an email 5 minutes after I got it.
Would you follow up tomorrow with an email back raising our concerns about the ditches? I've been traveling that road weekly here, and I'm not happy with the way the ditches are. You know, people get off and then there's ruts and you see mud and debris from the storms. I'd like that to be taken care of if that's possible.
I will reach out to them.
Thank you. Since the road's closed.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the township manager's report?
So moved, David Collingwood.
All right. Second.
Yep, I'll second it. Jay Kaiser.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Old business. Do either of you have any old business?
I have one thing, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
Cat Hill Road, how are we looking with that, Greg? Up through the woods there where we had problems before. Is that in decent shape, or has that been taken care of by PennDOT?
I'll go out and look. Last time I looked, was in not great shape.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about that. Due to the fact that it's an upcoming election season coming up here, and there may be some people coming around that might want to have some discussion. So thanks. Reach out for that.
Okay. Any other old business?
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing I'd like to bring up.
Yep.
I'd like to revisit an issue I brought up back in June. An issue which Mr. Kaiser objected to, and that's fine. It's his right to do that. We talked in June about the possibility of this board recognizing the old farmhouse in the park as the Heritage House at James Park. The reason was that it dates back to 1887. There's been 11 owners. The James family did not live there the longest. They lived there 24 years. The Klinger family lived there for 30 years. And I just, in deference to all the other previous owners, I think it should be recognized with a generic name rather than a family name, thus the Heritage House. I asked the solicitor to review the will of Frank and Ruth James. I asked her to review the sales agreement, and I asked her to review the deed with West Rock Hill Township to see if there are any restrictions on how the house can be identified. The property was purchased in 1991, 25 acres. for $275,000, with a final payment in 1993 of $60,000. And that was the first, I think, of 3 purchases made for what is now known as James Park. So that being said, I'd like to know if, Mary, if you have anything you could shed some light on.
You're muted, Mary.
Thank you. I reviewed the James Trust, and I reviewed the will that Mrs. James left, and I reviewed the most appropriate document was we actually there by it was probably a deed in lieu of condemnation, but there was a settlement agreement attached to it, and in that settlement agreement, it said that the condemnor, that's the townships. So the township hereby agrees that if, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong section. The township agrees that in the event any portion of the property is utilized as a recreational area, the township shall name the recreational area the James Memorial Park. There's no discussion in any of the documents I reviewed about the house, but there is a requirement that any recreational areas be part of what would be known as the James Memorial Park.
Okay, so the house being a separate issue could be called anything at once. Is that correct?
There's nothing in the documents that I reviewed that would prohibit that.
Okay. All right.
Well, then, if that being said, I would like to make a motion that the Board of Supervisors recognize the house as the Heritage House at James Park, the existing farmhouse.
Okay. Comments, Jay?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know my comments. I feel that it's not doing Ruth James and the James family just about changing the name of the house, since they did leave that to the township. However, I understand what the wish is, and I guess out of respect for the James, I was in the position of keeping the house called the James Farmhouse. But if there's nothing that says that it can't be changed, I have to say that I would go along with David's request if they so choose to do that.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a motion then to approve the name of the house to become the Heritage
He
House?
did, I think.
I made that.
Didn't you do that?
Oh, okay. And Jay, you seconded the motion, I think. So
I'm going to second. Yeah.
okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kaiser.
All right. Thank you. I have one piece of old business. Last month, we approved putting an EV, an electric vehicle charging station in the park. Construction of that started on Monday. On Monday and Tuesday, they dug the trenches and they've got the piping on the ground. They're ready to pour the cement and put in the unit. Probably by next Monday, it should all be completed. So we, as a township, have to decide what we want to charge people or not charge people to use it. I would like to hear from both Jay and David on their comments about how we want to handle that. As I mentioned before, Richland doesn't charge anything, but other townships do, and other municipalities do. So it's just a matter of either we don't, or we have to decide what amount we want it to be.
Let me speak to that, if I may. When I first knew what the options were, I was good with either one. Charging, I don't know whether it be 8.18 cents or doing it as a public service for free for the citizens of the township, because I know it's going to get used and used heavily. I don't know what other townships are doing. I mean, you say that some townships are doing it for free. Is there any reason why we wouldn't want to do it for free? I mean, is there any? I guess I turn to the solicitor for that. Are there any issues, legal issues?
Mute.
I took my video off and not my mute.
Oh.
It could be logically incorporated. You can't give away electricity for free, but in combination with a package of like enticing people to the park, it would probably be deemed acceptable. Townships can expend money to make their parks more attractive and to provide amenities for the residents. So since the second class township code, Greg asked me about this about a week or two ago, and we both looked through the powers of a second class township, and you do have the right to allocate funds toward park and rec purposes. And if this is an amenity that would draw people to the park, there's probably nothing illegal about it.
Okay. Thank you. And Jay, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I did. We talked about this last month, and I thought, Mr. Chairman, that you indicated that we would get our money back by what we charged for the service. I was always under the impression of charging something for it, but I would say, since it is in the park, they're using for the park, that we should at least charge what it cost us. I mean, I don't think we should be giving it away free either, but we could charge whatever the costs are to us and pass them along. And that can be figured out by the manager for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Jay. I was just throwing the options out last month. Okay, giving us a month to think about it. I have no problem going either way. I mean, I have no problem with us charging based on the rate of our electricity now, and I think it's all programmable anyway. We just need to come up with something that we can have them plug in when they finish the unit, so we can bring it online. And after that, we can adjust it any way we want. So I would agree with you, Jay. Let's try and put a number on this that equals our usage. So, or the usage, I should say, the amount of electricity that the township is using for this activity. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, and Mr. Chairman, that's something you need to have approved this evening, because you need to tell those people who are doing that installation, they want to do the final programming of that system, correct?
Yes, and I think based on what Jay was saying, and I think what all three of us were saying, we could leave this. We could make a motion to allow the township manager to set the price based on our current usage of electric, the rate of our current usage.
Correct.
Does that sound appropriate to everyone? So the item would be to approve allowing Greg to make that decision, and because Greg would be controlling it anyway, he would be the one that has administrative rights to change the application.
Yes, I would agree with that to set the rate at whatever the cost is to the township.
Okay.
If you say the rate right now, well, by the time that's done, if the rate goes up a penny or 2 pennies, or 5 cents or whatever, I think it should be the current rate, whatever the township is paying.
Yep, that's fine. Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
Then that covers it.
Okay, so we're all in agreement. Can I have a motion to appoint our township manager as the administrator who will set the price on the EV charging station?
So moved, David Collingwood.
All right, and a second.
I'll second it.
All right, great. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, it's done, Greg. Okay, I have no other old business. New business? Does anyone have new business?
I have none.
Hearing none, let's open this up to public comment. Greg, do you have any public comment?
Just one, and it's Cliff Cole, and he wants to speak for himself.
Okay, good evening, Cliff.
Hi, thank you for all your hard work. Today, you might not know it from today's meeting, but today was a big day for the West Rock Hill Township and for the Citizens for Clean Air. We are delighted that a full 7-member Commonwealth Court panel heard our oral arguments for our DEP Clean Air appeal. We also very much appreciate the efforts by the township's attorney, Douglas Blasey. Mr. Blasey did an exemplary job of arguing the township's case. I'd also like to thank the supervisors for sending representation to the Citizens for Clean Air virtual town hall that we had last Wednesday. We also had panelists Alex Baumstein, Robert Harvey from the Bucks County Commissioners, David Akamanowicz, the school director in Richland Town, Christine Finella, who's a candidate for U.S. Representatives, and Robin Calagesi. It's a very successful meeting that went on for over 2 hours, and Alex did an excellent job of explaining the dangers of compressor. I'd also like to mention that PBS 39 News ran a segment on the Adelphia compressor station today, and it will be repeated at 11 o'clock. So I encourage everybody who's on this call to listen to that. It's a very well done presentation. 2 members of the Citizens for Clean Air, Kathy Werbach and Christine Shelley, were interviewed. I'd like to point out that Adelphia made a statement to the reporter. They weren't on there, but they made a statement from Ivana Wolf, who was their quote company spokesman. They said that the Quakertown compressor station is designed with state-of-the-art technology to limit emissions and noise. This is patently false. This is my speaking now. They are not using the latest technology. They want to use reciprocating compressors that use gas, and that's an old way of doing it, and it's not state-of-the-art technology. They also say that we continue to collaborate with West Rock Hill Township and adjacent neighborhoods on aesthetics and updates on the compressor station. Well, we know that they are talking with you because in this meetings you had motions to have negotiations with them. But we'd like to understand who these adjacent neighbors are that they're talking to, because we know all the adjacent neighbors, and nobody from Adelphia has been talking to adjacent neighbors about updates and aesthetics on the compressor. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. Is there any other public comment?
Does Adelphia want to offer a rebuttal?
I do not see any other public comment.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Then I will make a motion to adjourn. And do I have a second?
Second.
You have a second.
All in
Okay,
favor?
thanks.
Aye. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much. We will be adjourning
Thank you.
into executive session.
Good night.